All right, we're here. We're here. It is Monday, April 1st, April Fool's Day. Um, Maddie,
Hi, everybody. It's good to start a show with a smile, Amani, isn't
I
it?
love it. Keep doing that every week. Keep
I
doing
know.
it. Yes,
I
yes.
I think we have to be honest. So every single week, like right before the show starts, I'm always gabbing it up with our guests because we just love all of our guests. And Amani's always like, Mandy, you got to be quiet. We're about to go live. Or Mandy, I need to put you on mute. And it just happened again. So that's
Right.
why we're always starting with the laughing
Yes,
because I'm getting yelled at for talking too much all
yes.
the time.
Erica Brunke, hello. You're in the chat there. Thank you for
Hey,
tuning in.
Erica. We love Erica.
Yes. I always tell Mandy, okay, I'm going to take you off mute. No cursing.
Well, good luck with that.
I know.
Then Amani blushes.
Exactly right now.
So, Amani, I have to ask you, it's April Fool's
Yes.
Day. What do you do any jokes? What's your experience with April Fools? Has anybody played any jokes on you this year or in the past?
The April Fools. I've had jokes played on me one time a long time ago when Facebook was just getting big. I think I changed my status to engaged or something. That was a long time ago. And
Ooh,
people were like, what's going on? What's
scandal.
going on? But of course, that
Scandal.
wasn't true. And then maybe I played jokes on like associates when I was growing. I don't have any. I'm trying to think if I have any memorable stories. Nothing particular, but I do know that you like to play jokes on Scoot. What have you got planned for him today?
Well, it's a thing. I love it. April Fool's Day is like my Super Bowl. A total prankster. I grew up in a family of pranksters. And when I was in an office, it was so fun because everybody pranked each other. But working from home for the last 14 years, I don't have an office mate to play pranks on. So my poor husband of the last 14 years is the recipient of every April Fool's Day ambition that I have. So for many years, the pranks were funny to me, not funny to him. So I've had to really learn
Yes.
the style of the prank that's appropriate or what isn't. So like in the past, I put his car up for sale, which I know is not appropriate. But it was funny because it was a brand new car that he agonized over buying. And then people were calling, and I put it for sale for like a third of the price, which infuriated him, right? There was like a little sign in his door. People were calling him. He didn't like that. Anyways, I've learned my lesson that those are disruptive. Those are not okay. But today I did something very subtle. I walked around the house and I flipped a couple pieces of art upside down. And two of them were in his room. One of them was in the hallway on the way to his office. The other's in the family room. And I could hear him giggling. And he's like, "Oh, Alex," because we had a couple friends over for brunch yesterday. "Oh, Alex did this." I'm like, "Oh, Alex is so funny." And then it happened like one by one. And then he was like, "Maybe it's a ghost." I was like, "Oh, either a ghost or Alex, even better." So then I sent him a big email and said, April Fools,
Yes.
all that. But it was good. It was much more subtle. It
Yes.
was a little more acceptable. It was fun.
Yes. If you had listed my car for sale, brand new car for a third of the price, and I was getting calls like that's some consistent effort there. I would be a little bit, infuriated myself.
He was
So
mad. Yeah, he was
wow.
mad. But I learned. I lived. I took the ad down. I
Maybe
lived and learned.
maybe Scoot and I can kind of, work together on next April Fool's Day. I have some okay, this is gonna be good.
I triple dog dare you. It's fun because think about it. In our world, the end of the quarter is the 31st. It's super stressful. It's a frenzy. Your hair's on fire. And then April 1st. Like, just have fun. Like, it just brings it back to joy and humor and having fun. So I don't know. I think the timing's
Okay.
good for a good joke. We need
Mhm.
a good joke every
You
now and
do.
again.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm thinking. Speaking of the end of quarter and your hair being on fire and trying to make your numbers, why don't we use that as a good segue for our guest today?
I think that's great. I think that's a great segue because we have a senior
Yeah.
sales leader in one of the top hotel companies. She's a leader to many Hilton humans, 25 plus year dedicated member, board of trustees for MPI, involved in sites, involved in PCMA, and she's amazing with the intermediary group, which is how I know her, although I realize I met her before I was an intermediary. And I can't tell you the number of people I've talked to that have so many kind things to say, but have also said how she has lifted them up in their hotel career, lifted them up to be better not just salespeople, but better humans. So it's with great honor that we bring Kim Napolitano to the stage today.
Yes. So here's Kim on your screen. Round of applause. We hear it. Yes. We love it.
Hi, Kim.
Hey,
How
hey,
are you?
hey.
Thank you for being with us. We're excited to have you here. I think I'm going to let Mandy start us off because she loves to go to the Wayback Machine, but she always tells me, "Oh, Amani, build more rapport when they bring the guests on." So I'm going to let Mandy exemplify that. Tell a story, Mandy, and lead us into our conversation.
Well, I actually, it's so funny. I do want to go back to the Wayback Machine really quick. So, Kim, you have such a storied career and you've done so many awesome things. I do want to go back to the Hilton McLean Tyson Center because I think that was your very first hotel job. Is that right? Like front office supervisor? Is that what you
It
did?
was. I love the front desk, being able to greet everyone and being the ambassador as people are checking in or checking out, regardless of hour of shift. It was so much fun to be able to engage with our customers in such a thoughtful way, which is welcoming them to my house, to Hilton.
I love, and I can't think of a better ambassador than you. So, like, my question is being at that job, how did you
Yeah.
go from being in the front office to going into sales? Because I feel like there's a leadership story in there. And
Yeah.
then I have a couple follow-ups to that.
Great. Well, like anyone who's worked in the front office, you would always see the salespeople run in, probably right around breakfast time, asking for a show key. And then they'd come in at lunchtime asking for the show key. And then they would come at dinner asking for a show key. And I always just was like, what do these people do besides eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner at the hotel? And my husband and I were newly married, not a lot of nickels and dimes to scrape together. I'm like, this would be amazing to save a lot of money, for food cost alone.
Alone.
And fast forward, I had an incredible GM who I was given an opportunity to become a reservations manager back in the day. And so we would have left Washington, D.C. to go to LA. And my general manager's like, he goes, Kim, let me be your Dutch uncle. And I'd never heard this term before in my life. He goes, let me be your Dutch uncle. He goes, you would do well there. He goes, but I'm telling you, you're a salesperson. Will you trust me enough, and I'll create a sales position for you in the sales team. Trust me enough to know that I know you will be successful. And I took a leap of faith and I said, I love how he leads. I love the culture and the fact that he was willing to take a chance on me. I was willing to take a chance on him and his belief in me. And then came sales and started off with conference center sales. So where you sell, service, cater. And then off to the races we went in the group sales space.
I love that. What is a lesson that you learned from that? Because it is first of all, I've never heard of the word Dutch uncle before. So that's my lesson in this quick conversation.
Yeah.
But what's a lesson you learned from that, whether it was being at the front desk or just from modeling that leadership behavior?
A couple of things. From the standpoint of it, just me as the individual, it was the importance of being present and engaged with our customers, because he saw something in me because I was fully focused in on our customers as they came to the front office in whatever shape that looked like. And then from a leadership standpoint, it's the absolute need for us as leaders to be on the lookout for this talent, because a lot of the talent may not even realize, wait a minute, maybe this is the direction I should go. They're not even thinking that that's a viable step. So to be able to give not a hand out, but a hand up, I think is such a beautiful gift to lean into. And I somehow have just become so passionate about building tomorrow's leaders today. I feel like we need to design our approach to how we lift the future generation into leadership roles within our industry so we can continue to evolve.
I love that. And I think so many leaders right now are so busy and they're rushing around from meeting to meeting and they're not paying attention. And there's no fault to them, right? But I think it's just a good reminder to pay attention to the talent that's around you. It may not be the talent that you think it is, right? It may come in the form of a front office supervisor. It may come in the form of somebody in the valet. It may come in the form of, somebody at the concierge deck, and just be aware of the potential talent around you and lift up. I love that story.
Well, thank you. And I think there's something to be said about being open to mentoring, because we can have people ask us, and I'm sure we've all said, oh, will you mentor me? But when a mentor comes to you and says, hey, Amani, I see something special in you. Let's sit down and have a cup of coffee. I would tell anyone who gets that call, do not hesitate to accept the invitation, maybe do a little research on the person and come with a very a very curious mindset and lean into this opportunity, because I feel like it's when the mentor is picking their mentee, that to me is when the sweetness is really taking place to elevate that individual.
So I got
Agree.
two follow-up questions for what you shared. First of all, I want to say hello to Sophia Ronaldo. Thank you for tuning in. We see you in the chat there.
Sophia, Boston
Thank you very
Sophia.
much.
We love her.
Yes. Now, you mentioned how you really are passionate about developing kind of tomorrow's talent for our industry. In the past, let's say 3 or 4 or 5 years, we've seen the talent from our industry. It's harder to find talent because of the reputation of long hours, low wages. It takes you a long time to get promoted. You know, as a professor at Cal State Fulton, I hear this all the time. What's your response to that?
Well, I look at it like this. We are in the position to change all industries. Depending on what your segment of business is within, at least travel and tourism, and then under the hotel umbrella, we have the ability to help industry lift in a variety of ways. And what better way for you than to get, at least in my case with Hilton, to be with a global hospitality company and travel the world. It's not going to happen overnight. You can't expect to graduate college and then boom, I'm going to be a C-suite position. You have to prove yourself. But after a 31-year career with Hilton, I have been able to be able to travel the world. And these are things I've always wanted to do, but with the support of Hilton, and to be able to put 3 kids through college and have a nice roof over the head and go on great vacations. And, it's kind of like living the millionaire's life, but maybe not at a millionaire budget. So there's a lot to be said about this.
I like that. Now, I'm so impressed and in admiration of your volunteer activities. You are currently you're working with MPI, which we're going to talk about, ASAE, SITE, GBTA, PCFA. How do you manage being active on the 5 major associations in our industry?
Well, it's time management skills. It plays a little bit of it. And understanding what you can give and what you can't. So being very upfront about either boundaries or restrictions. And quite frankly, because I oversee our intermediary team as well. So it's having an incredible team that I get to work alongside, knowing that they're doing what they need to do. And I can lean into the industry relations space, again, up-leveling Hilton's voice on different stages around the world.
Yeah. So as part of the global board of trustees for MPI, first of all, are you going to be in Louisville, Kentucky?
I'll see you there. I'm looking forward to it.
We'll have to get you on the digital broadcast, interview you there, because that's what I'm working on. So that's good. Because you've been a part of MPI for a long time, 25 years. What impact has that membership and volunteerism been on your career?
I have been able to learn how to lead teams through dotted lines, because these volunteers, they're volunteers. They don't report directly to you. You have no say in their annual reviews. So it's a different approach versus a direct report. So to me, it's about persuasive communication, learning that, getting some tools in the toolbox to help you tell your story to, as you are trying to inspire your team, that your inspiration helps motivate them to do what needs to be done. But it can't be achieved if they don't understand what your purpose is and where you're trying to lead the organization, or in this case, MPI, to help grow and evolve their mission, which, Amani, I'm sure you know this, Paul says this quite often, when we meet, we change the world.
Yeah.
It's so powerful. I mean, what a great noble purpose for an organization to, again, help uplift all industries, not just meetings and events.
Amazing. Yes. Mandy, back to you.
Well, I want to piggyback on something that you just said about time management. Great salespeople have great time management skills, but I think everybody's always working on practicing new ones. So what are 2 or 3 tactics that you use that you can't live without, or that are super helpful for you?
It starts with one single calendar. I don't have a personal calendar and I don't have a work calendar. They're all together. And when I go on any sort of travel, even when our kids were much younger, I would invite my husband to all of my, travel. And so that way he had the arrival departure times on the airlines and knew where I was when. And then all of the kids' activities would go on the same calendar. So you just need to mark out clearly when you need to be blocked versus where it's just more, it's holding space. So you know what's happening when. So something was going on with the children, but I still knew I was going to be in the office during those work hours. I would just have it on my calendar, but I would leave it free. So I knew where I needed to be when.
One single calendar. Love that. Somebody just asked, I did a time management class last week and somebody asked, how many calendars? I'm like, I just use one. And it's good to know other people just use. I don't know how other people use multiple calendars. That's confusing to me. One single calendar with some color codes, maybe.
Yes.
And I love a good color code. And and I've learned through the many years of saying, how do I maintain and how do I stay on top of things? The first thing I tackle in the morning is probably my biggest project, whatever it is for that day. And then you go to the next smaller size project, and then you go to the little stuff. We learned this in a training many years ago, but taking your big rocks and then your little rocks and then filling the rest in with the gravel, because the gravel will always fill in. But if we're always in, for example, the space of your email, are you being as productive as you really could on driving different initiatives within the company? And so we have to be mindful about how are we spending time. And we had a conversation, a training program with some of our other leaders. And one of the conversations that came up was, if we don't have an agenda in the Outlook invite by a certain time frame, then you have a right to say, thank you very much, I'm not going to be attending the meeting.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent. Always have an agenda. Okay. Well, speaking of the A words, not agenda, but awards. You have an esteemed career. If anybody has not looked at Kim's LinkedIn, you have to. It is endless, endless awards and inspiration. So, of all the awards that you have won, because there have been many, what one means the most to you? What's one that sticks out in your mind that you're most proud of?
Ooh. Well, I'm going to say two. One of them has to do with our Circle of Excellence awards, and I received that award twice. And for me, it was about having the ability to recognize my husband for all of the sacrifices he made. So I was very successful. And then we go on our big incentive trip, and that's where I could pay homage and honor my husband for what he's done along the way to support my career. And then I was absolutely thrilled to receive the Smart Meetings recognition as visionary, one of several incredible human beings that were also acknowledged at the same time. And I just feel like it underscores the work I'm doing is being recognized, and the need, again, to up level. What are we doing to help this next generation feel comfortable to really roll into the space of the hospitality industry, meetings and events industry? And how can we, again, high tides raise all ships. So if we help that, with the approach of them, then all of a sudden everyone is being successful.
Interesting.
I love that. And I love the recognizing your partner
Yeah.
for the many sleepless nights, the many awkward weekends, the many site inspections they've had to go on. I mean, I think that's super powerful. I'm really glad you do that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Now, when you're looking at potential salespeople, or let's just maybe take even a 30,000 square foot view, best salespeople that you've worked with, what has been the most common characteristics that really help them stay at the top and get there?
Oh, Amani, I'm so glad you asked this question. There's an incredible book called The Ideal Team Player. It's the title of the book, and it's by Patrick Lencioni. Everyone needs to read this book without question. And if you're a leader, read all of his other leadership books because they're phenomenal. And I have seen the most successful sales professionals are those who are humble, hungry, and smart. And when I say humble, they have the ability to work cross-functional teams and align and work with different stakeholders. They have the ability to recognize, I don't know all the answers, but I know people who might. So let me work on that on the back end. Hungry, they have the ability to be self-motivated. So leaders are here to help guide and inspire, but at the end of the day, you're the one who has to do the work. And then smart. I'm also looking for someone who's not only intelligent, IQ smart, I'm looking for someone who's EQ. So the emotional intelligence. So being able to walk in the room and say, something is amiss with this group of people, and I'm getting ready to present. How do I now kind of downshift in my approach? Because what I was going to do may not be the right approach. There's also another book from Lisa McLeod about noble sales purpose. And
Mhm.
that's another one that everyone should read. And it helps you identify what is it that drives you when you have to wake up in the morning and roll out of bed despite all the busyness. What is it that drives you forward?
Interesting. Okay, give us two good book recommendations already. I'm gonna drop them in the chat there. So thank you for that.
Love it.
Amani loves books. You're
Oh,
speaking his language. She loves a book
I love
recommendation.
it. I love it. Then, in terms of being hungry, what
Yeah.
is something that you are looking to learn next? Like, what's on your list of things you were trying to learn and maybe get better at?
So I am thrilled to say I am in a year-long program to become a certified executive coach. And
Oh,
I just feel
Awesome.
like what I'm learning now, it's a month, we're going into month 3. What I'm learning now can be applied to how I'm engaging with my team members, my direct reports, my colleagues, my other team members that are outside of my direct purview but are supporting my team. So I just think we need to be life learners and we need to be open to opportunities to continue to grow and evolve, because the minute it's either evolve or die,
mm,
right? If you're not continuing to grow and evolve, someone is coming up right behind you to say, well, this is what I know, and kind of put the shadow over you so they can move forward.
mm. Yes, yes.
I want to build on that for a second because you've been quoted by saying clear is kind.
Oh, yes, it is.
So it sounds simple, but I'm sure there's background on it for you. Like, what do you mean by that? And can you give an example of that?
Yeah. So clear as kind is a quote from Brene Brown. So
Mhm.
another great thought leader and author for,
Mhm.
yeah, Dare to Lead and all those other
Love
great
Brene
books.
Brown. Yeah.
And Mandy, I liken it to this. Like, we all have friends. And the question is, are you going to be the friend that says, girl, you got some broccoli in your teeth. However, here's the floss and the bathroom is 2 doors down the right. Like, I'm your leader. I am here to walk. Oh, there you go. See?
Brene Brown. Amani's
Oh, yeah.
holding
And
up.
that's a good one. Atlas of the Heart. So it gives you definitions. Oh, I love that book. Um, so this is all tied into, as their leader, a great leader never pushes or pulls. A great leader is there to walk alongside the journey of the team member and help them see. So asking curious or questions that are curious minded, and then giving them some real direct feedback. Because if you genuinely care as a leader, you're not going to want to have your team member not realize where they could improve. And so that can be a little uncomfortable, and they may not like it to a certain degree, but at the end of the day, the goal is to help them continue to grow and evolve. I feel like there are a lot of leaders out there that may just be a little bit, oh, it's so uncomfortable, it's so uncomfortable. Then I would politely ask you to consider, do you really want to be a leader? Because how is that lifting the industry if you're afraid to have those direct conversations? But you can have those conversations with compassion, with care. I call it compassionate honesty,
Mm.
and my team knows to expect that. And again, my whole thing is, how do you present or create an environment where it's psychologically safe?
Yeah. And between externally with customers and
Mhm.
internally with staff, you have a ton of gratifying conversations and a ton of difficult conversations. So, what advice do you have out there for maybe an emerging leader who's just starting out in their leadership career? Maybe they've been doing what they've been doing for a while, but they're a new leader. What advice do you have for them to have difficult conversations? How do they start? What do they do?
I would say the first thing you need to do is, as you're preparing for the conversation, bring that person to your mind's eye and then just write all the judgments you have about them. And this is called a clearing exercise, because you want to move that off the table. And then you want to think about, how do you want to present the information in a very factual, right? We need to consider, is this interpretation or is this fact? Because we will listen to fact, but if it's your interpretation, that's a different conversation. And that gets into the place of judgment. So if the team member can understand factually, what I noticed was, you said this, you said that, this was the outcome, then let's discuss, what does this look like? Help me to understand the thought process. Help me to understand what may be barriers from that are preventing you from achieving XYZ. But I would say don't rush into the conversation. Be very thoughtful and identify, how do I as a leader want to show up in this conversation? So that's the beauty of acknowledging what are my judgments and my thoughts about that person. Write it out, remove it, and say, okay, how can I show up as a better version of myself? How do I want Mandy, when I have to have this conversation with her, to feel when I'm engaged with her? Am I distracted doing emails and Am I kind of going at her hard? What does that look like? Or am I just saying, Mandy, help me to understand. This is what I understand the situation to be. Do I understand it correctly? Okay, well, tell me more. I want to understand the why, and I want to get you to a place where you are to where we need you to be of XYZ, whatever that looks like.
I love the idea of coming to the conversation without judgment and then actually doing the clearing exercise beforehand. I think that a lot of people miss that, and how much more productive is that conversation when you actually do that little exercise beforehand. That's great.
Yeah.
Great advice.
Yeah. Now, to segue, I put the link in the chat about the Hilton GMIT contest. So you want to share really quickly about details for that, and then I'll ask my next question.
Yes, so we are thrilled to announce we've launched the contest again. It was very successful last year, about the Meeting That Meant Everything contest in celebration of GMID. And so Hilton.com/GMID contest. And the deadline is April 5th, so it's coming up. But you just go online, click in, you can write your story, or you can do a quick video about the meeting that meant everything for you. And you can actually earn a million points for your organization's next meeting or event.
Okay, awesome. Thanks for sharing. It's also on the ticker, so you see it coming across the bottom of your screen. Now, when you're looking at the meetings and events industry today, we'll say April 1st, 2024, what do you feel is the biggest, most pressing issue for our industry, and what ideas do you have for us to solve this issue?
Ooh. I would say, and it's funny because I just need the audience to know, there was no prep. Hey, here are the questions we're going to be asking you.
Sorry, everybody. We like a real organic conversation.
I was talking with some girlfriends, and I was like, this is going to be great because it's going to be me chatting with some friends. Like, this is a great thing. It's not as structured.
Right.
For me, there's an opportunity. We've been hearing a lot about neurodiversity and what that means. And it's a very broad topic. But I feel like now more than ever, our community is, and the society in general is ready to be able to lean into being very inclusive and creating that sense of belonging. And I say, for example, you can create a sense of inclusivity. Hey, we invited all these people. But if they don't feel like they belong and they have a voice at the table, then you're not creating that environment that includes all voices to the conversation. And we have got some strategies within Hilton on how we're creating the most welcoming events in the world. You're going to hear more information about that. What does that mean? What does that look like? And there's another arm to this whole conversation about, well, what are some things meeting planners or event designers can do? What can they add to these different events to make everyone feel included? So we're super excited about that. There's a lot to be said. We could dig in a lot more on the topic, but to me, out of everything, you've seen Google's new project, and initially there was getting a lot of traction last year, but it just feel like at this point in time, people are understanding the need to be more inclusive and creating that sense of belonging.
Interesting. Okay. Now, I usually wait to the end of the conversation for this question, but I feel inspired to ask you now. If we were going to go talk to Kim back when you were just graduating from Radford, so you're leaving Radford, which is in Virginia, for people who don't know where Radford is, and you're going to talk to yourself based on everything you know now, what advice would you give your younger self?
Believe in yourself and don't be afraid. Just take those very uncomfortable steps. Don't kind of be half in it and half out of it. And I say that because, coming out, it was a little bit of trepidation. So I would just say, go large. If you want to travel the world, work for a company, find a job where you can go travel globally. What does that look like? Just don't hold yourself back. And if you cannot believe enough in yourself to do it, make sure you surround yourself with like maybe a board of directors for you,
Mm.
your girlfriends, your friends, whatever that looks like, and lean into their support and belief in you.
Yes, great answer. Great answer. Before we get to, because we have a special word associated activity. I've been taking notes as you're talking that we're going to do later.
Amani.
So I keep
Amani's
doing
bringing
that.
out all the stops for you, Kim.
I love it.
Inspired. I'm so
Love
inspired.
it.
I'll let Mandy ask her next few, and then we'll kind of we'll flip the table in a minute and get you to ask us questions.
Well,
Right?
you've just talked about gal pals a couple times, and so I'm lucky. I've got a great group of I have multiple groups of gal pals, and I feel
Mhm.
lucky and supported by them. What what do you do with your gal pals for fun, and what importance do you see in staying connected to gal pals inside the industry, outside the industry, not even in the industry?
Well, I'll answer the second question first. It's a
Okay.
lot of communication, text messages, phone calls. I love a good, video chat. How are they doing? Just to catch up and being able to, then we can see each other's families in the background and just catch up
Mhm.
that way. And there's something to be said that I've got some really great friends that I'm not talking to every week. Like
Mhm.
it may be 6 months and then we reconnect. And to me, that's such a beautiful gift to be able to give to each other. And remind me, the first question was,
What do you do with your gal pals for fun? What when you're not working? What are
yeah,
some things you do with your
yeah, girlcations, right? Like we'll go
Mhm.
to the beach. Maybe we're actually connecting in more so couples, but we're going to Charlotte in a couple of weekends, so a little mountain house getaway. So it's just prioritizing time with them. I get it when you have younger children, and it's much harder to do this. I would strongly encourage anyone, male or female, to create at least one trip a year where you can spend time with some of your nearest and dearest friends. I think that just
Mm.
adds so much to the relationship. My husband's been doing a golf trip with his fraternity brothers for the past 20 plus odd years. It's hilarious. And to see where they started to where they're at now, it's been enjoyable to see that experience.
I love that. Okay, and I want to build on that a little bit too, because you touched at working parents.
Yeah.
So, working parents, we see this all the time too, especially in our industry. It's a 24-hour literal hotels are open 24 hours, right? So, what advice do you have for working parents? I mean, you have 3 adult children now. So,
Yeah.
what was some things that you learned along the way, or some advice you would give to working parents out there who are in the thick of it? Maybe they're like glorified Uber drivers for their kids right now, and their kids are 9 and 11. They're running them
Yeah.
to soccer practices. Like, what advice do you have?
Accept support that is surrounding you. Please don't think you need to be the superhero, whether you're the father or the mother, or like whatever your role is to the relationship to the child. It's okay to accept help. It's okay, even better, to ask for support in some way, shape, or form. So maybe it's, understanding who's in your daughter's Girl Scout group and say, okay, let's get on a call with all the moms and dads and say, okay, can we create maybe a carpool situation, whatever that looks like. And I would also say we were very fortunate to be able to go down the path of having an au pair, which for us at the time was very affordable. And we loved it. It worked out so well for us. So, especially when we had 3 kids under 5, I mean, it was a little
Mhm,
chaotic, but
mhm.
it worked well for us.
Great advice. Accept support. I do think so many people, especially women, go at it alone,
Yeah.
Mm,
and realizing you ask for help. Just ask
yeah,
for help. So many people want to pitch in and be a part of the village. So I love that.
yeah,
Mhm.
exactly. Now we've come to the point in the interview where we flip the script and we let you ask both Mandy and myself any question you like. Nothing is off limits. Who would you like to ask a question to first?
Amani, I am curious about maybe one of your, I don't know, most embarrassing moments or failures and what you learned from it.
Hmm. Most embarrassing moments or failures. So what comes up to my mind first is when I went to DJ school, and you go through these 6 classes, and at the 6th class you have to get a 320 out of 400 to pass. You have to do
Mhm.
a final performance. The final performance did not go well for me. Couldn't get the system to work, so I couldn't get music up. I was shaking, I was nervous, and you're in front of like 40 of your peers, so everyone knows what's
Mhm.
going on. So it was quite embarrassing. So as a result, I missed passing the final class by 2 points. And I had a decision to make. When they brought me in, they talked to me. They said, okay, you can decide you want to take the last class over again. It's your choice. Many people just refuse. They just don't come back. They just take their ball and go home. So I had to go home. I'm sure you're familiar with driving in the traffic down the 405 in LA, sitting on thinking about this. Then I had to come back to a networking event that same day and share what my decision was in front of everyone. And it was just embarrassing. But I was able to swallow my pride, check my ego, take the class again, get one of the highest scores ever. So I just learned like resilience, and that was really a launching point for my career.
Love that. Thank you.
Yes.
And Mandy, over to you. I'm curious about what's one of the hardest things you've ever worked on and what was the outcome of it?
Ooh, wow. That is a good question. One of the hardest. So just for the audience, we were not given these questions in advance. Okay. One of the hardest things. I will say this. Writing my book was easy. And I'm so proud of that. And I'm writing more. And like that's great. But what nobody tells you is you write the book, but nobody tells you you also have to market the book. And you have publishers, you have marketing people, you have PR people, and they all do a great job, but they're also representing so many other authors. And ultimately, it's up to you if you want your book to succeed or not. And I never saw beyond that. I just thought I'd write a book, I'd publish it, my mom would read it. That was it. It didn't like the rest of that didn't occur to me, the whole marketing thing. And I'm a marketer, right? But it didn't occur to me. And I had to learn it. I was in a phase in 2021 or 2020 and 2021 where I had to learn so much. I was learning and I kind of felt like, God, I'm in my upper 40s. Like, am I done? Not that I'm done learning, but I feel like I'm open to new knowledge, but not this much immense knowledge every day. Like I was learning how to use social media for the first time. I had never really used it for work stuff. I had used it for fun or to stay in touch with my family in Ohio. I had never really built micro communities. And when you are releasing a book, it is all about micro communities, sharing that book, reading that book, like the whole launch of a book. I had launched new venues, I had launched new hotels, but I had just never done that. So I think it was the hardest thing I ever did, but the most gratifying because I came out of that with an accidental master's in in marketing a book and becoming a bestseller and doing book tours. I didn't know how to do any of that. And I learned, I'm like, oh, so that's how it works. Because it is big a mystery. You don't know it unless you do it. And it was hard. And I was also running my HPN business. I was also doing my coaching and speaking that I've been doing for so many years. And I do remember looking at my husband one time and I was like, I don't know if I can do this. Like, I don't know if I'm built for this. Like it's too much. If I wasn't learning so much on a daily basis, that would be one thing. But like, it wasn't the volume of the work. It was just all the new stuff I was learning in addition to like living my normal life. And I come out on the other side and I'm all good. And I've got a whole new skill set I didn't have before, but that was hard. I think the gravity of learning all that stuff was very hard.
And I think there's something to be said that is when we're in these positions of whether it's like the most challenging thing we've had to face or it's an embarrassing moment or it's just this uncomfortable space, what are we learning from those things to be able to carry it forward to continue to grow? So I appreciate the two of you answering so thoughtfully.
Those are great questions. Yeah. Thank you.
So before we ask you to do the word association exercise, I want you to please explain to us your opinion on why you feel every leader should have a personal coach.
Oh, yes. I really do believe that every leader needs one. And in large part, we don't understand our own blind spots. And this is where if you can get someone who is a certified executive coach or has been coaching for quite some time, they have the skill set to be able to give you the ability to put the mirror in front of you and to say, are you leading in a conscious manner or are you not? And there's another great book, The 15 Commitments of Conscious Leadership. Love the book, love the concept, because I genuinely believe we all come to work wanting to wanting to do good jobs and lift our team members up and all the things that a great leader should do. But sometimes we can't get out of our own storyline and the noise in the back of the head. So it's like, how do you quiet all this so you can come into the executive functioning part of your brain, and be present in the moment. And that means you can't be thinking about the past and you cannot be thinking about the future. You've got to be in that moment when you're engaging with your team member.
Agree. Wow. And thanks for giving us more book recommendations. I want to say hello to Mercedes Montajillo. I think I'm saying that right.
Hi, Mercedes. We love Mercedes.
Yes. So thank you for tuning in. Now we have the word association part. We do this with every guest, so you should be honored. We're doing it with you there.
We haven't done it in a long time.
No, we haven't done it.
Also, I don't know.
Also, Kim, I didn't know we were doing this. Monty's just bringing this up. So this is fun. Yeah, this is fun on the fly. I like this. Yeah.
The first word that comes to mind, or phrase, word or phrase that comes to mind. So the first word I'm going to share with you is leadership.
So I need to do a word associated with leadership.
Yeah. What comes to mind with that word or phrase?
I would say presence. A state of presence.
Yes. Hilton.
Oh, hospitality.
Okay. Radford.
Fun moments in my life, like joy. That's where I met my husband. My boyfriend at the time, the college sweetheart.
Nice. Great. Sales.
Exciting.
Yes. Do you find some people view it as not exciting? We have to do a follow-up there.
Well, I think they're, yeah. I mean, let's dig into this. I think they see it as not a noble career. And to me, I think it is such a noble career because you're providing solutions to people in need. So instead of seeing it as a negative, it really is about providing solutions and options to anyone who is looking for your services.
Yeah, it's required. Great explanation. Coaching.
Love.
I'm
having so much fun with it. I love coaching my team, and I do a lot of mentorship in a variety of different organizations, including Hilton, and it's just such a joy to be able to help people grow and evolve.
Now, when you're coaching, how do you approach and handle having these hard conversations that eventually will come up?
Again, for me, it's about coming from a curious mindset and trying to remove the judgment, which again, the judgment is more about me and what I'm experiencing. So it's more my shadow self coming up. So that's why I have to clear it out and just say, tell me more. Did I understand the situation correctly? And then just continue down the path of not blaming the person, but really trying to acknowledge them and, acknowledging the dignity of them as being a human being and wanting to better understand the situation.
Yeah. Excellent. Final word, trust.
Necessary. Critical.
Okay. Yes. Mandy, over to you.
It's critical to foster relationships.
Okay. Very good.
It is.
Yes. Mandy, back to you.
Yeah. I want to know, what do you think makes a good salesperson right now? Like there's some things that are standard that make a great salesperson, but the world is a little more complex now, right? Than it's ever been. So what are some of those key elements, those key components that make a good salesperson? So let's say somebody's listening and they're not in sales. Let's say they're not even in the hospitality industry. Like one of the classes that I teach for the meetings and events, SDSU at the meetings and events program, last semester, I had a nurse, a doctor, a lawyer, an executive director. I had people wanting to come into our industry, which was so inspiring. It made me so hopeful. So if somebody's listening to this and they're just not in our industry or they're not in sales, like what components make a good salesperson that might make them reconsider their plot as a salesperson?
I will go back to the conversation about the ideal team player, because I feel like if you are that person, you're humble, hungry, smart, you have then a learner mindset. And to me, if you're interested in wanting to come into sales, you have to come in with that mindset of I want to learn more. And it can't just be about the money. It's always got to be about the bigger purpose, the purpose outside of us, that purpose that is so robust and like just this beautiful thing. For Hilton, it's to fill the earth with the light and warmth of hospitality. No matter what we do, we'll never be able to say, check, done, move on. It's always going to be that effort that we go to every single day to just continue to deliver more and more and more to that. So if we can help people find their purpose in sales and why they want to go into sales, and they are humble, hungry, smart, like the world's their oyster at that point in time.
I love it. And then you help so many people. You're coaching so many people. You volunteer so many organizations. What can we do to lift you up? What can we do to support you?
That is a powerful question. I would say I would bounce back to Brene Brown, clear is kind. So if I've responded in a way that causes you to feel whatever, to please come and let me know, because I don't know what I don't know. And the goal is to be able to come to conversations in a very present moment and a present mindset. But I'm also a human being. And so things happen and we're all trying to do the best we can. But yeah, I would say there's one thing that people could do. Clear is kind.
Amazing.
Beautiful answer.
I did have a follow-up question. I'm just curious. What's your favorite example of, like, maybe one of your salespeople or yourself, a follow-up that you've seen or witnessed? Someone following up with a client. What's your favorite example of that?
Well, we've seen a lot, especially, this quarter ending. Mandy, I had to laugh earlier when you were talking about it's the end of the quarter. Now, April Fool's Day. Are you serious? Like, this is relentless.
Right?
I made my team call it Ghost President. Like,
yes, exactly.
But one of my favorite stories is when one of my team members ended up really working the process and getting all stakeholders involved in the conversation, because she saw something going a little bit sideways. And she came to me and we talked about it, and she had her ideas. How she wanted to move forward in the conversation. And then she did just that. To me, so much of it is in the follow-up. Like, are you actually following up? So many people just leave it, and it's like a dangling participle. Like, oh, okay, I meant to follow up. But to me, the best success stories are when you actually do follow up, and then you follow up again and you follow up again, because 9 times out of 10, there's going to be some additional action items, and then you got to follow up on that and so on before you can cross the finish line.
Amazing. Great. Well, I mean, I can't wait to meet you in Louisville. So I'm excited to see you there. And we're about like a month and a half out. And I'm just so impressed by just the work you do, both for Hilton and with all the associations that you volunteer in. I mean, it's making me feel like I need to do more myself, because you do so much. So.
Oh, Amani, you do a lot. You do a lot.
You do. Just do what you can. That's all I ask.
I agree. So just thank you for spending time with us and sharing your wisdom, all these books, all the stories. Like, this has been great. So we appreciate that. We're going to put you back in the green room momentarily while we finish up the show. But any final words, or Mandy, any final thoughts?
Just thank you. Thank you for being here. And then if you don't know Kim, get to know Kim. She is a leader and is approachable and is dynamic and funny, and get to know her if you don't know her. And then Kim, what final thoughts do you have?
I want to thank the two of you for bringing together this community and how you show up. I've been watching your podcast numerous for a while, actually, and it's been very enjoyable to see how you are able to get your participant to really open up. And I think sometimes they're opening up in a way they didn't expect to open up. So you all are being very present in the moment in time to be able to get that question asked, to be able to then take the conversation in a direction never thought possible. So thank you.
Thank you.
And then to everyone else, please, if you have a story to share about your most meaningful meeting or the meeting that meant everything, please sign up, register. We'd love to hear your story to celebrate you in some way, shape, or form.
Awesome. Got the link in the chat. Round of applause here for Kim. All right.
Yay. Thank you, Kim.
In the green room.
Amani, I think I'm going to submit a meeting that meant everything for the Hilton contest. I'm going to give it a whirl. That looks fun. Yeah, I think I'm going to do it.
Okay. I love it. Excellent show again. We're on a roll. Who do we have to look forward to next week?
It's a stranger I've never met, but it's a friend of yours. I think Crystal Washington.
Oh, Crystal
Why
Washington.
don't you tell us? Tell us about Crystal. Yeah. I don't know anything about her.
You're like, it's a stranger. I don't know. So Crystal Washington,
I love strangers.
Hall of Fame speaker. She just was inducted to the Speaker Hall of Fame in July of 2023. She's like a futurist. So we're going to talk about like technology, what's happening in the future. Amazing speaker. I just saw her in Albuquerque a couple of weeks ago. And I had interviewed her maybe like 7 years ago. So it'll be interesting to see her progress and what's going on. But we're in for another great show. She's going to be very open and share speaking and business tips with us. She has excellent systems too. So Get your question, bring your questions and your popcorn, and be ready.
You know I love a system, Amani. I know it makes you crazy. I love systems.
So that's
I love
good.
systems and processes. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
great.
So thanks again to Kim for being our guest today. We appreciate all the
Yes.
wisdom and expertise. Make sure you are reviewing, rating the podcast, liking it, signing up for it, sharing it with friends and family. And with that, we will see everyone next week.
See you next week. And if you're listening today, don't forget there's still time to play an April Fool's Day joke, a kind one. Still time.
A kind one, yes. Okay.
Have a good day. Bye.
Bye.